On this week's episode, we have Zenos, the co-founder of Hamlet. Not Hmlet, which you'll hear on this episode. I even got it wrong, which is funny because Kindred's very similar, where we took out the vowels and people have a hard time pronouncing it. So Hamlet actually just raised $40 million. So you've probably seen them in the news recently, all the press articles, which is honestly really impressive because they just raised their Series A like less than a year ago. So they're obviously onto something. So I will actually read a little bit of what they sent me as a summary of what they're up to at Hamlet. Their mission is to ensure every member is being taken care of, feels connected to the community, and is empowered to live a more fulfilling life. As people increasingly feel the bite of expensive, isolating living, Zenos and his business partner, Yoan, wanted to create a solution for affordable, flexible, and secure accommodations. Hamlet was launched to address this need as co-living fast became a necessity to the lifestyle of a mobile workforce. And prior to Hamlet, Zenos co-founded Opscotch with Yoan, a property management startup that maintained a portfolio of shared houses in Singapore and Tokyo. And originally from the USA, Zenos landed in Singapore after taking some time to travel the world, living in Japan, China, and Mexico, and learning all three languages. Arriving in Singapore in 2012, Zenos founded several startup companies, each with a strong focus in tech. In his downtime, Zenos enjoys reading, working out, and learning more about other cultures via his travels throughout the Asia Pacific. So hope you all enjoy this interview. Again, we're super excited to get him on. We have been in talks since April, so this is great timing because they just closed that round, so we actually go into detail about that. And also, side note, everybody, please, 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 really quickly, either on YouTube or SoundCloud or iTunes or whatever device you're using to listen or watch this interview, if you could do a thumbs up or like a quick comment, that would be so great. I really appreciate that. Doesn't have to be anything fancy, but we always love the feedback, and enjoy the episode. Hello, everybody. Again, here, Christine, another weekly episode of the Co-Living Coach Show, and really excited again to bring on Zenos. He is the CXO, so Chief Experience Officer, and that's always a fun title, co-founder of Hmlet, and they are based out of Singapore. And you guys have probably seen them in the news recently because they did just raise their Series B funding, which was $40 million to expand. And so first, I want to congratulate you on that. I'm sure that was a fun road to travel. And it was very quick. It was less than 12 months from your Series A, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. It was relatively quick. We just saw the opportunity to be able to expand quickly. And so our investors believed in us, and we were able to go back and raise another round relatively quickly based on our strategy.
Love that. And then, so take us to the beginning. I know that you guys started, so with your co-founder, Yoan, you guys started a property management company first, right?
Yeah, that's correct. So that was, I think, around 2014. And we started, we were creating something so that we could create internet startups. And we needed something that would give us the ability to do that. And so we saw that there was a little bit of an opportunity in property management. We started that, and maybe around 9 months, 12 months into it, we realized that actually this is really the opportunity. There's a huge opportunity in the residential space, and we decided to focus on that instead of going into a high growth internet startup or something else.
So then Hmlet,
in about 2016 is when we realized that what we were really focused on was not just the residential aspect of this, not just fitting people into boxes, but what we really were passionate about was connecting people together and providing them a location that enabled the rest of their life. And really it was this community and collaborative aspect that we decided to focus on because that's what really drove us, and that's what excited us.
And you're originally from the States, right?
I am, yeah. Born in Montana, raised in Seattle-ish.
Nice. And then you went over to Asia, like in which year?
Oh, that's a lot of other stories. So I went over to Asia when I was 16 and lived a year in Japan in high school. And then I went back when about 10 years later, I quit my job, sold everything I owned, and traveled the world. I went to Japan for a year, China for a year, then Mexico for a year. And after another year, ended up in Singapore. And then I didn't escape Singapore. I've been here for 7 years.
Nice. And you know how many languages? I think I read somewhere. You've picked up a few on your travels.
Yes, Japanese, I'm about business fluent, and in Chinese and Spanish, I'm conversational. So normal, going out, having fun with friends conversation. And then English, sometimes I'm okay. So
Love it. Yeah, right. That's awesome. So then let's see here. So Homelet's been, so it's 3.5 years into the journey, it sounds like. How many beds do you guys have total right now?
wow, it's well, we have secured over 1,300 in our pipeline. Active, we're nudging over about 900 at this time. So we're also in 3 different cities, which we're in Sydney and in Hong Kong and Singapore. And we're looking at some other cities to open soon as well.
Oh, terrific.
And
No.
we naming wise as well, it's a little bit ambiguous, but we are calling it Hamlet because it's the sense of community. This, it's that old English word that means village and community. And this was a little bit of a debate at the beginning. It's like, we're doing home letting in a way, but Hamlet really fits what we do, which is our community.
No, I'm so glad you clarified that. No, because I saw it in two different ways online, and then I'm like, is it Hamlet or is it Homelet? So I'm so glad. And it's like kindred, right? It's the same thing we did. When you take out all the vowels, people are trying to figure out how to read it.
Yes, and we like the ambiguity because both of them work.
Yeah.
It is both what we do and what we're passionate about. So it works really well for us.
So when you said, so that was something you guys put into thought and you guys have had discussions around?
Yes, of course. Actually, it comes into, well, yeah, HM can be a little bit abbreviation for home. It can also, as Hamlet, it can be that shortening of Hamlet. And we originally were thinking, okay, like we needed a way to get that domain name. And yes, this one was available. And originally we were thinking, yeah, Homelet. But at the same time, right at the very beginning, we're like, this could be Hamlet, this could be Homelet, which one should it be? And a lot of times when we're out there talking about the company, at the very beginning, we were talking about it to some people in loud environments. We would say something along the lines of, yeah, we have a company called Hmlet, and people couldn't hear us. They'd be like, is it Omelette? Is it, what are you starting? But Hamlet, everybody can hear and everybody understands and knows it from the Shakespeare. So they're able to really easily kind of make that association. And then that it ties together really nicely with our community makes it the perfect name for us.
No, and that was something else when we talk community. I jot down, I just loved that you guys, one of the sayings I read was, people come for the convenience, but they stay because they become part of a community. So have
Yeah,
you just
exactly.
seen that time and time again?
Time and time again. We do minimum 3-month stays in Singapore. And in Australia and Hong Kong, we're allowed to do 1-month stays. These are the regulations of the city. But we typically want people to stay a minimum of 3 months regardless, because that really lets you start to become a part of the community. You get to really embrace the other people that are living there, make really great friends and friendships that last potentially a lifetime. But what we see is that people are coming in because it's flexible. They don't have to buy their own furniture. They're only putting down a smaller deposit. They don't have to sign up for the electricity, the gas, the Wi-Fi, etc. And by the time 3 months comes and they're thinking they're going to search for their own place, well, they've met some of the people that are really changing their life in the city that they've settled down in. And our average stay is nudging over like close to 1 year now. And that means that people are just making this conscious decision, like, I love where I'm living and I'm going to stay here for as long as I can.
I love hearing that. And then that leads well into my next question. What's the demographic, and it might be region specific since you guys are in these big major cities, that the demographic, like the age, the type of profession, what type of people typically live there?
Yeah, it's a good question. We're all over when it comes to demographics because of where we're at. In Singapore and Hong Kong, you have a lot of people, transiting, coming in for work at times. And so that means that we're mostly expats in Hong Kong and Singapore. And we're over 40 nationalities living within us, within the Hamlet communities around both Singapore and Hong Kong. And then Australia tends to be a little bit more like that local expat, someone moving from Melbourne or Brisbane and moving to Sydney and needing a place to settle down. And that is, we get about, say, 50% of our members in Sydney are this like local expat person. But really, we're every kind of person, every nationality. Our average age is sitting right around 29 years old. And this we're seen as this working professional moving to a new city, starting out their new life, and trying to figure out where to stay, who to live with, how to make friends, etc. And we are the perfect destination for that.
Awesome. And then what's your favorite part about creating Hamlet? Like, these 3.5 years that you guys have been working on it, what's your favorite part?
Wow, that's really hard to say. There's so many good parts to Hamlet. I mean, there's the design aspect. I think we create really beautiful places and we really focus on the design. But I'd say just the people that we meet along the way. I think it's fantastic to be able to meet people that are from anywhere and everywhere in the world, all with varied backgrounds. And you tend to meet people that have super interesting life stories. When you're living in a co-living community, you get people that are really open to trying out new things. And they're kind of at this forefront of what we see as this fundamental shift in how people kind of quote unquote consume real estate. And the people that are willing to live inside these communities are incredibly fascinating. I've made some really, really good friends over the years that we've been running this, and that's what I'm most grateful for out of this experience.
Yeah, and I think you're right. It's that openness that I've seen time and time again, of the types of people that do co-live. You're right. They're very open, they're worldly, they're just really, they're just super cool to meet and live alongside of. So I love hearing that. That's cool.
I agree very much so.
And then, so circling back around to, because I did want to touch on this, because again, there's other operators that are either in the middle of fundraising, getting ready to raise the round, and they're like, oh, well, we're going to ask for 50 million. They've never raised before. And I'm like, okay, I don't. And they're like, oh, well, Venn City just raised 40 million and Hamlet just raised 40. And so I'm like, yeah, but I think it's a little harder than that. So I would love to, was it easier than you thought to raise this Series B, this next, because the A was, what did you guys raise on the A, like 6.5?
Yeah, 6.5 million US from Sequoia, India. And that one, in some ways it's easy, in some ways it's extremely difficult, right? I think we have a really great concept. We're focused on the right things, in our opinion, which is we're not just strictly focused on creating cookie cutter real estate, jamming as many people into boxes as we can, but really creating this new way of living that hasn't really been seen before. And that makes it exciting for a lot of people, including investors and including ourselves. But at the same time, you still have to be doing something that everybody wants and the market out there wants, right? So people have to love it, investors have to love it, we have to love it. And that coming together, yes, if you can, you pitch it out there and you tell potential investors what you're really going for. If they believe in you, then they're going to back you up. But I wouldn't say it's an easy process. It's a lot of thought, a lot of focus, a lot of meetings.
Was it like, how many months do you remember on especially that series, that first round? Do you remember how many months you guys took to raise?
It can vary a lot, and this is where I'm really grateful. I have my co-founder Yoan. He is just amazing at getting out there, pitching, talking to investors. He's also really charismatic and has this way of conveying the excitement that we feel in co-living to just everybody out there. And he's able to then get out there and spend a lot of his time doing that. And I think that's what it requires, is a lot of focus. And if we talk about timelines, it can be anywhere from you start going out there for investing, and it can take a year developing these relationships. We were able to shorten it a little bit, but there is certain things that you just have to go through when you raise money, which is you need to, one, go through the meetings, meet the investors, pitch them, see if they're interested, have those follow-on meetings. And then when people say yes, well, you still have to go through the due diligence process and kind of get people to really understand your business. So it can take a long time. Other times it can be shorter depending on conditions. But for us, I'd say we were relatively typical when it comes to how long it takes to invest.
No, and again, a big congratulations, especially when you have, Sequoia India doing a follow-up round. So obviously they were happy with you guys. They invested again. So you guys must be doing something right. And definitely give yourself credit. You're charismatic too. I haven't met Yoan yet, but he's even more charismatic.
I think he's the more extroverted one. I'm like introverted, but a little bit, I try to be a trained extrovert in some ways, if that makes sense. When you're an entrepreneur, you kind of become a jack of all trades. I think that that as well. You kind of have to do just everything and anything. So I've always tried to learn how to be a little bit extroverted, but inside I enjoy the kind of the analysis, the data, the detail-oriented things. And that's why I think we make a great partnership with me and Yoan, because he's the more extroverted one. He likes to make those relationships and get in front of the people and talk about Hamlet. And I like to get behind and see how we can really optimize things and really get into the details. And I think it works really well as a partnership.
No, you guys you have this amazing partnership. Like this is your guys' second venture together, technically, right? Because the first one, yeah.
We've been business partners for quite a long time now. Now we're at 5+ years, right? And so it really is. It's like a marriage, right? You can have ups, you can have downs, you can have arguments, but at the end of the day, it comes down to, well, we really care about each other. We want the best for each other, and we want the company to succeed. So that means that we work tirelessly at that, and we really have each other's backs, and that's what makes it a good partnership.
Yay. See, there's some bonus advice for everybody listening and watching, because I know a lot of founders have co-founders. So you read my mind. That was my next question, was what was your secret? So it's putting each other first, and it's putting the company first. And yeah.
It really is. Yeah. I think I can't stress enough that you don't want to jump into a partnership without knowing who you're dating and who you're getting married to. I think a lot of founders do this, right? They see that the other person has skills and capabilities that help their own, but they don't spend enough time getting to know each other. And me and Yoan were friends for a couple of years before we became business partners. And so we really knew each other. And then we ended up moving in together into the same house, which we shared with a couple other people, and we were all friends together. And this really helps you get to know who you're doing business with, and this is what allowed us to have a really great relationship and why we're so close.
That is great. No, love hearing that. That's perfect. So back to, let me see my next question for you guys. So do you guys live in any of your communities? Do you guys live on site?
Yes. So Yoan lives in Hamlet. He lives at our place at Sarkis Road in Singapore. I live at Riverwalk. Unfortunately, the landlord wouldn't let my unit to be rented by our company, so I still have to manage it. But actually, I live in the same kind of community. I'm part of the building. We have over 30 members there, and I still live with like roommates and manage it the same type of way. So I still want to be in that community in the same way.
Cool. And then do you guys have, what kind of events? Like, talk about the community itself. Do you guys host a lot of events?
Oh, thanks. That's a really great question. We do. We try to do, now we're doing maybe 4 to 6 events per month. And some of these can be a bar takeover or a bike ride down the coast, or we'll do some community outreach events like cleaning up the beach and whatnot. We also partner with some other companies that are doing events at the same time. And then we have private events that we only give to our members. These can be yoga classes on one of our rooftops. We've also done just like game nights that are just member focused. So we do both these broader events and internal only events, but we want to do as many of those as possible. And I don't think it's just the events that brings community together. It's something that can enable it, but there has to be a lot of other things going right in order for events to also work well. So I think that, a lot of people think that it's just events that make something co-living and that's how you get community together. But it's actually creating connections between people, whether that's at the event or within a flat or within a building. And we want to be able to create those connections. And so, yes, we do the events, but we also focus on all the other aspects as well.
And then are you able to say like what cities are you guys planning on expanding to next?
Not completely, but I know that one is in the press already. So we are looking at Tokyo. And I think on our website, you can see we're also looking at some other places in Australia. So we'll look at Melbourne and potentially others.
Exciting, good stuff. And then, so you guys also have co-working space, correct? In the buildings, is there places where they can also co-work?
It is, though we don't charge for it. So we have a couple locations here in Singapore and elsewhere, and we're looking at developing these places. We call them our Hamlet labs. And we're able to allow people to just do whatever they want in these spaces, right? They're rentable, you can book them and have like a birthday party or something there. But during the day as well, they're a place for people to go to work if you're an entrepreneur or working from home or taking the day off. Well, it's a space that is relatively quiet and it's like, well, do you go to a Starbucks or do you have something at home? And I think we developed some really beautiful places that are cozy and that you can work from for the entire day.
And then do you guys have, like, talk about technology, do you guys have a app that connects everybody? Do you guys have your own software you're building, right? That you built?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we do have an app. So this is mainly for connecting our members together within the building and also within the unit that they're living in together with others. And so the first part of that is you log in and you're able to see the place that you're living and who else you're living with. So imagine you're brand new into this apartment and you don't even know anybody. Like how do you get to know people and how are you connected? This gives you that initial first bridge to get to know your flatmates. It also has some other information about them, such as like their interests, even a link to their Instagram if they've allowed it, these types of things. And then in the building as well, it shows you everybody in the building, and at events and whatnot, you're able to get to know these people and then potentially meshes them and start friendships with them. But as well, the app does some other things. It allows you to book services that we are providing in the building, such as your laundry or potentially cleaning of your room, etc. All these are on demand, and the app then allows us to get these things to our members in an easy way. It's just like at the touch of a button.
Nice. Oh my gosh, that's great. No, and just that convenience factor, right? And then, so let's see, my last question is that I ask everybody is, where do you personally see, and I know you kind of briefly mentioned it a little bit, the future of co-living and the shift in how, people are going to use real estate and, for this fast forward 5 or 10 years, where do you see that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think that the future for us, it was apparent quite a long time ago, is that while there's so many more people that are being born, the population of the world is increasing, and most of these people are going to live in cities. And yet I think we're not building something for the future generations. It's not anymore that you want to buy your own house or your own apartment. As like a younger, say, millennial or working professional, you're not thinking about that at this stage in life anymore. At 25, you don't think I should be saving up and buying my first house. That used to be the case. Now you think, okay, where am I going to start my career? And the world is shrinking in a way because you can move anywhere or get anywhere relatively quickly, and communication happens almost instantaneously. I mean, you're in San Diego, I'm in Singapore, and we can have this conversation. And technology enabling the world, like shrinking the world, is incredible. And so the barrier for people to move around the world is so much less than it used to be. So me taking a job in Singapore or moving to London or New York is not that big of a leap anymore. And I remember like 20 years ago, my mom freaking out when I'm about to move to Japan. And she's like, I'm never going to be able to contact you. Email was barely just starting, you know. It was amazing. I was still sending letters back and forth. And that was a really big, you know, it's a really big exploration at that time. And now that's not the case. Like your willingness to move around the globe as a young professional is almost none, right? If you have the opportunity, you'll go. And because of this, like we see that people need a different way of living within these cities that they're moving to. And a lot of it is you don't want to put down a 2-year lease and buy furniture and sign up for the services. You want something that's plug and play, the same way that you now book your Uber driver or Lyft, or the same way that Spotify like has eaten music, right? You don't buy CDs anymore. You really are not buying apartments anymore, at least at this stage in your life. And you want a service that provides you a place to live and also kind of that community as well, because, well, you're new to the city or you want to make friends. And the people that you meet along the way are the people that change your life. And there's only a few of them. And we hope that we're enabling people to make those connections and meet the people that will change their life.
I love that. Meet the people that will change your life. That's why I love co-living so much, right? That was such a perfect answer. And thank you so much. I know me and you were talking through DM on Instagram for like, I checked it was since May. I was like, please come on the show. And I know you're so busy, but I would be like, what was that? What was that?
We've been a little bit heads down, as you can imagine, with, you know, the fundraise, etc. So this is
yeah. When I saw that announced the end of July, the raise, I'm like, now I know why he hasn't come on the show yet. Like he's been very, very busy.
Yes, very.
Good stuff. Well, thank you so much. On the YouTube channel, we always show B-roll footage of how beautiful the spaces are. So people can check that out on the YouTube channel. If you guys want to see, we'll have all your contact information down below. If people need a beautiful place to live when they move to Singapore or any of these other countries you guys are expanding to, which is really exciting to see. And thanks again for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Bye. Thank you so much for checking out today's episode. If you want to learn more about co-living, you could check out my book on Amazon, The Co-Living Code. And of course, if you're looking for the perfect software to power your co-living concept, check out kindred.io, KNDRD.io. Thanks. And a quick thank you to SPX Agency for all of the graphics, animation, and design on our YouTube channel.